Hey gang, it's Tim. So I really want to talk today about lead gen for your agency. Now, that is such a hot topic that an entire industry has been built around it. And you know that because I'm sure that you get the same emails that I do, which are, would you like 100 appointments booked on your calendar or you don't pay or whatever those crazy offers are. So those are that is lead gen. That, like, you get those appointments, right? But you don't know what the quality is. You haven't researched them. You've given a very broad target market. And honestly, they're likely not to be all that great because in the past, I've tried a couple of those services. And yeah, they get people on the phone who are micro businesses who can't afford your service, or they're people who are actually like looking for information about how to copy what you do or something. And so I've never had any success with them, and quite honestly haven't really found anybody that really has been able to solidly and happily build their business on a third party lead gen solution. But I do want to talk about the 4 ways to generate leads. They are always on, inbound, partnership, and events. Now, there are variations inside of all of those, but let's dive through those really quickly so we can talk about what you need to prepare yourself for as an agency leader who wants to generate more leads. Number 1, always on. This is what you might expect. It is cold outreach via email or LinkedIn, via Instagram DMs, whatever. It could also be ads. If you do not have a clear target market and you don't have money in the bank, I don't want you running ads simply because it's expensive and it takes a long time to dial those ads in perfectly well. But cold outreach, email, LinkedIn, Instagram DMs, whatever. The thing that I really want you to know about this is scale is not your friend. Sending out 10,000 emails from 100 different Gmail addresses does not make you more successful. As a matter of fact, I know a pretty successful agency that's sending out 10,000 emails a month, and the emails are good. I've seen them, and they generate about 10 appointments a month. So while I am a big fan of cold email, I am not a big fan of scaling this up so that you are just spraying and praying. The way that I want you to think about cold email and also about cold messaging in other ways via LinkedIn or whatever. The thing that I want you have to keep in mind these 2 things. Number 1, that the communication to your prospect has to be targeted. So what you say in the email has to have some relevance to that recipient, and it has to address a need that you truly believe the recipient might have. So if you start spraying out emails that talk about you and your agency, you are not going to get a great response. Also, if you don't have a really good target, you aren't going to understand how to make the email relevant to them. So what I would rather you do than thinking about how do I send 10,000 emails this month, I would like for you to think about how do I send 25 rifle shot emails this month? And a rifle shot email is, how do you pick out one person at one company that you think you could work with? You have enough information from either observation or market reputation or something that you can investigate to know that they are likely to have a problem that you can solve. Then you need to reach out to them in a genuine manner, saying, hey, you, Mr. Prospect, are in this industry. We've got a bunch of experience in this industry, and I'm wondering if you've got this particular problem, because a lot of people in your industry do, and I would like to tell you the impact of solving that problem. And that's it. Like, I'm not saying sign up for a call. I'm not, talking about our proprietary 9-step process or our case studies or our wins. I'm trying to give them some sort of value that they might see so that they think better of me and they try to, and then they respond. Because the only thing that you're trying to do during cold outreach isn't to book an appointment or make a sale. It's simply to start a conversation, because before you book a minute of your valuable time on your calendar, I want you to know that the person who is joining that meeting is a reasonable person for you to be speaking to. And so if you start small and just think, okay, 25 emails this week, and then maybe you can get your partner to send out 25 emails. And then maybe get your head of services to send out 25 emails. And suddenly you've got 75 emails going out every week. And you're going to start getting somewhere around a 1 to 2% meeting rate. So that means you'd be minimally generating 2 to 3 meetings every month, which I'm guessing is more than you are generating via cold outreach right now. But that's with 75 emails a week. That's not a ton, all right? Now, the next thing is, and by the way, that's like always on. I don't want to really talk about ads because ads are also always on, but you need to have a really specific definition of who you are targeting and what you are going to say in order to attract them. Very rarely is it ad to booked appointment to sale very quickly. So if you think of an ad as almost like top of the funnel stuff. So let's just hold off on ads for right now. But in your direct communications, really targeted, really relevant, start a conversation, not book an appointment or make a sale. The second thing that you can do to generate leads is create really good content. Sort of like this. Now, I am just sitting in front of my computer talking off the top of my head, but I am distilling my experience, my 25 years, it's almost 30 years of experience now, creating leads for B2B service companies like agencies. So if you create good content and you're able to effectively promote it via LinkedIn or Facebook or Instagram or TikTok or wherever, you are going to end up with some level of authority on whatever platform you're publishing on. That level of authority will help people find you and engage with you. Now, yes, are some of the people who are going to engage with you going to try to sell you something? Absolutely. But it is very likely that you are going to create some content that attracts customers to you. And if you're judicious, you can leverage and repurpose that content that you create, just like this. You can repurpose it into a blog post. You can repurpose it into an image on Instagram. You can repurpose it as something that you send along as part of your sales process to a prospect. So those things, like that is super, super important because that gives you the authority and that gives you the visibility and the attractiveness, the gravity to get people to talk to you. So when we combine those two things, we've got always on, and then we've got content. We're actually doing like a push-pull. You're pushing out with cold outreach and you're pulling in with content. And it is a beautiful and wonderful thing when just by happenstance, someone that you reach out to has also engaged with your content, because then they are much more interested in taking the call. And they also have a very good sense of who you are, what you do, how you work, how you present yourself. And then that will help them decide, do I want to get on the phone? Do I want to have a Zoom meeting with this guy to explore, or this person to explore more? So we've got push out, outbound that's always on. We've got pull in with content. And now I want you to think about this third thing, which frankly is terribly underutilized. And that's partnerships. Because even if you have a full service agency and you do 12 channels and you've got creative and you get technology, whatever, there are some things that you were just not awesome at. Maybe a service you haven't launched yet, or maybe your smallest service, or if you're a specialty agency and you only have one or two services, you can find agency partners that aren't really competitive with you. So for instance, if you're an SEO agency, you might want to connect with a company that does web development, because you can mush those things together into either a sequential offering where they do development and then you do SEO, or into a conjoined offering where you are doing SEO and development at the same time, and you're non-competitive. Ditto, if you are doing social advertising, you can partner with a search agency or a retention agency or a development agency. Or if you're a content agency, you can connect with anybody. If you're a creative agency, you can connect with anybody. And so if you can find someone who targets a similar client as you, who is non-competitive, you can actually find ways to offer your services to their audience and vice versa, because the very best way to get a referral is to give one. So if you can find an SEO company and you do social ads, you can find an SEO company and bring them in and say, and send an email out to your client saying, hey, we've worked with this company before. They're awesome. Like, we really trust them and we work really well together. We share data and we talk about results all the time because you trust us. If you're in the market for an SEO agency, we would love to make this referral. It's that simple. Or you can mix those two things. You can mix that with content where you guys can make content that talks about, how social advertising and email work together, or how email and SEO work together well. And so you can actually create content that ties your offering to somebody else, or conjoins your offering to someone else. Not permanently, but just in the matter of selling multiple services. And if you create some sort of rev share or profit share amongst yourselves, this can be a really mutually beneficial relationship. And it's best, I think, if you find 2 or 3 or 4 partners for multiple services, and then you have a small community of people who are thinking about how they can put their customers in front of you and how you can put your customers in front of them. And it becomes a very virtuous cycle. So far, we've got always on, cold outreach, maybe ads, probably not. And then we've got content. So that we've got cold outreach that's out, content that's in. And let's think about this agency partnership thing as horizontal, sideways. So we are now like spreading ourselves out into other people's audiences. And the last thing that you should be thinking about is events. Now, events are hard, but they don't have to be big, mammoth, 3-day virtual conferences or in-person conferences. An event can be something as simple as a 30-minute webinar about a particular topic. Because if you create that, you do a little bit of organic marketing around it, and maybe you get 10 people to show up. That's awesome. Because if you do that 2 times a month, you will have then created at twice a month, 10 people each time, you will have ended up creating 30 minutes times 20 people. That's 10 hours of engagement, even though it's mostly one way. That's 10 hours of engagement in front of a very small audience who have self-selected and expressed interest in what you do. And so that is a golden opportunity for you to create a real relationship. So this is very much like creating content to pull people in, but this is direct content for people who have self-selected, and then you can make them an offer if you want, because they know a lot about you and they've engaged with you. So those are the 4 things that I really want you to think about. Always on outbound, content to create inbound, partnerships to create a horizontal attack on the market, and finally, events to create a really pointed relationship between you and a self-selecting audience. And there really isn't much more to be done inside of agency lead gen than that. Everything that you hear with setters and organic DMs and ads and funnels and recorded webinars, all of that stuff, honestly, is an iteration on one of these 4 very classic ways to drive awareness and engagement with an audience that you can provide relevant, valuable, important information to. And so that is my quick look at agency lead gen. And if you'd like to talk more about that, you know where to find me.